Hi and welcome to our Model Exam 3 discussion class where we deal with the English questions of your mock test provided by HashLearn. So, I hope you had a good run with mock test 3. In case you have any doubts that need specific clarification from our end, just let us know. You have a commenting forum for that. Please make use of that and just let me know. And even if you don't have a doubt, just say hi so that I can just say hi again. All right. So we'll start with the passage. So let's look at this passage, the one that mock test 3 has. Now remember that your vocabulary questions, that is what you start with typically. It's a best practices strategy that most of us follow in order to optimize time versus head ratio, correct? Now, look at this particular passage. I have 4 words as always, okay? So, I just make sure I handle these 4 questions first. Now, why do I do that? I need not read the entire passage in order to answer these questions. This is a simple synonym antonym question, correct? So, I need not really know. Now, let's start with this particular word. Now, most of you would know this. I mean, what's maiden? Okay, so even if you don't know the the contextual meaning, you know that maiden over. What is maiden over in cricketing terms? This is of course common knowledge, yes, for most Indians at least. Okay, so a maiden over is nothing but an over that has 0 runs conceded, correct? So the batsman has not been able to get 1 run from 6 balls. That's a maiden over. He hasn't started his account. Okay, so that is the cricketing contextual meaning. Now, maiden means first, initial. Okay, so even before looking at the options, I know that maiden is this. Agenda. What is agenda? A plan of some sort, correct? Then there is optimism. Optimism, positive thinking. So you have a rosy picture of the future. That is optimism. Okay. The opposite is pessimism. Revive. Now remember that VIV is the root word for life. Okay. So revive means give life to. Okay. Repeat. Okay. Revive. That is re-life. That's how you read it. Give life to. Okay. So even before you start with your answer options, you know for a fact that these words have these meanings, correct? Now, let's look into this. Agenda, okay? Now, agenda means, as I said, a plan of some sort, right? Schema means the same. So, you've heard of scheme, right? We use that a lot. A schema is nothing but scheme, okay? So, nothing but plan or agenda. Got it? So, that is your answer. Let's also look at these words. Employment, obviously, you know what it means, so I'm not looking into that. Semantics means meaning, while syntax, what is syntax? So, when you program, for example, your C language or your C++ language, they have their own syntax. You cannot say borrow something from say Java and put that in C or C++ and expect it to work. Each of these languages have their own syntax, correct? So, the order in which things appear, okay? So, for example, it's been very long since I've done a programming exercise of any sort, but look at it this way. So, speakf is a command of some sort. So after that you put whatever, you know, comes on screen, all right. So the output is in that fashion in a particular language, okay. Now if you look at the English language, the subject comes from first, okay. I like movies, okay. So subject, verb, object. So SVO is the commonly accepted syntax for simple English, okay. So now you understand what a syntax means, correct? It is the order in which words are put, it is the acceptable standard to frame a sentence, so on and so forth, okay. So agenda, schema, got it? Now maiden, as I said, the meaning of the word maiden is first, okay. So that is exactly what you have. Maiden means first, pretty easy one that, okay. Now also look at the other options. Perennial means permanent, okay, and typically it's used to the Ganges is a perennial river, meaning all year round you find water in it. But that might not be the case for a smaller river of some sort, okay. So that is a non-perennial river, okay, something that is temporary. Now what is the opposite of perennial? Ephemeral. Ephemeral is something that lasts for a few fleeting seconds and that's about it. The opposite is perennial. Something else that means almost the same, not the same but almost the same, would be eternal, meaning it stays until eternity. Got it? So that is about perennial. Then you have final, current, and of course first, okay. So the answer here is first. We move on to the antonym questions. You have optimism. Optimism. So optimism is positive thinking. Let's say I write an exam today and then I hope to get a good score in that. You know what, I've done well. I really hope to get this, get the first score in this or clear the exam, so on and so forth. I have a very optimistic approach. But if I come out and say, you know what, I'm not going to pass this exam, I'll fail this, blah, 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 blah. So that is pessimism. The opposite of optimism is pessimism, okay. And pessimism, cynicism, they are almost the same. When I'm a cynic, okay, I am very negative about things, okay. So a cynic is someone that who has no positive thought in him. He doesn't trust anything. He does not have a very positive outlook in life, okay. So that is a cynic, okay. He's extremely indifferent and he doesn't expect things to go right. That is cynicism, okay. So skepticism, being doubtful about everything, okay, skepticism. So that again is almost, I wouldn't call it synonymous, but they are together in one word group, okay. Then, so the answer is cynicism, all right. Look at the other ones. Affirmation. Affirmation is saying yes, you affirm, you say yes to something, you give your consent, okay. So that is affirmation. Then there is assurance, okay. So you assure someone, yeah, you're right, okay. So you give some strength, support to a statement, you assure. Revive, as I said, VIV is the root word for live, okay. From this, Viva, do you remember the health drink that's named Viva? Ever wondered why it's named that way? Because Viv means life, Viva, life, okay, life giving, all right. From this you get vivacious, meaning very lively. Okay. Then of course we've seen revive. Ever wonder, okay, by the way, talking of brands and their interesting name origins, Revive is the name of a fabric starch, correct? Ever wondered why that is named thus? It gives life to very dull and, lifeless clothes, okay? So that is why it's called Revive. Anything else that you know that has the root word viv? Vivacious, revive, and then there is vivid, meaning lifelike. Okay, so let's look at this example. He gave a very vivid description of what happens in the book, meaning he gave a very lifelike description of what happens in the book. Anything else? Viv. How many of you have watched Friends, the TV show? So Chandler's father is supposed to, this is something that you learn from the trivia quiz that they have in one of the episodes, one of the stunner episodes of course. Okay, so Chandler's father is supposed to be, part of a club in Vegas, and that's called Viva Las Vegas. Okay. VIT also means the same, okay, Viv and VIT, by the way, from which you get vital, meaning vital means important to life. Then you have vitamins. Why do I write it this way? Because, okay, it's actually vitamin, not E, but this is vital plus amine, vitamin, okay. So that is about VIT. So revive means, as I said, to give life to, or to, induce more life into. The opposite is exacerbate, meaning make something worse, okay. So in this case, exacerbate means to make something go from bad to worse, okay. In this particular case, exacerbate is the antonym to revive, okay. Now something else that I would like to tell you is acr or acr. These are the root words for bitter or harsh. Acrid, acrimonious, and then acerbic, exacerbate. Okay, all of these share this particular root, word root: acrid, acrimonious, bitter, harsh. Okay, acerbic, typically to do with your remarks. If you say something harsh, it's acerbic. Okay, exacerbate, we've seen it just now. Okay, and then another word that goes hand in hand with exacerbate, the opposite is ameliorate. Ameliorate is the opposite of exacerbate. Okay. Now remember, ACER is the root word for harsh. Similarly, MEL is the root word for soft. Okay, so you make it softer, you lighten the blow, that is ameliorate. Amelia, that's the word, origin for these proper nouns. But what's very important here, from MEL or MOLLI or MOL, these are the root words for soft. Typically you get mollify, mollicoddle, emollient. Okay, So all of these mean soft. Okay, mollycoddle is to to treat someone like a baby. It's very softly. Emollient, an emollient is something that softens your skin. Okay, an ointment of some sort that softens your skin. Okay. Resuscitate means the same as revive, but when you resuscitate someone, you actually quite literally inject life into their system, meaning someone is probably very ill and you resuscitate them, meaning you give CPR. Okay, so that is resuscitate. Relegate, you relegate a task to something, you relegate something to second place or third place. Okay, so you put something in its place, that's relegate, or you give something, okay, or you just place something somewhere, that is relegate. Ascertain, make it certain. Exacerbate is something we've just seen right now. Okay, now we move on to para-jumbles. Look at this. That Hogwarts is finally acknowledging its status as a major player in the international education system for wizards is evidenced by the fact that the Minister of Education has formally developed a theory of international relations, the concept of a harmonious world. In the past, the education department's authorities have tended to downplay the institution's clout, blah blah blah. Okay, now remember that when I say the institution, it means that this has already been stated somewhere, so this cannot be the starting sentence. And there is also in the past. Okay, so it would be great if there is a timeline, and in the past is probably not the first sentence if you talk of timelines. Okay, so typically B would not be your starting sentence, so I eliminate B because it starts with B. Look at C. This is because traditionally blah blah blah. So I can also eliminate C as the starting sentence, and hence option C, because this is because. What is because? So this cannot be a starting sentence. Eliminate. Now look at this. Though the last 25 years have seen Hogwarts dazzle the world in its excellent performance, it has shied away from playing the kind of active role in international affairs that would seem commensurate with its academic weight. This is a possible starting sentence. A is a possible starting sentence. So my options are between A and D, which leaves me with A, D, E. Correct? Okay. Now look at this. This is because blah blah blah. So C occurs, okay, somewhere, and just before C we have something where the because part is explained. This is because traditionally the institution's policies have been defined by the need for the country's employment above all else. Okay, so something to do with country's employment. Okay, so look at A and D. Can these occur before C? Is there any talk of employment? Now, so A and D do not talk about employment. Let's look at B in detail. In the past, the authorities have tended to downplay the international clout, choosing to stress on its developing status and limited capabilities. Such modest rhetoric was intended to allay the fears that the rise of the institution was causing across its immediate neighborhood. Immediate neighborhood, okay, that has some focus on country, within the country, what happens, the employment, and just outside. Okay, so this occurs before C. So I am better off choosing one of these, correct, A or E. Now look at the introduction and the conclusion statement. A is a very good conclusion statement because it ends with, look at this, that it is finally acknowledging its status. That is a very good indicator for concluding sentence. Okay, in the international blah blah blah, evidenced by the fact and has formally developed a theory of international relationship, the concept of a harmonious world. Okay, so this is a very good conclusion statement. So BCA makes sense. D has to be the introductory statement. Okay. Something else, look at this. Though the last 25 years have seen Hogwarts dazzle the world, it has shied away. Okay. So if you look at it this way, this also introduces the paragraph stating, you know what, Hogwarts has had a good run for 25 years, but it has shied away from international focus. Why? And then we see why. Okay. So DBCA is the correct order. Now let's look at the next parajumble question. Now I am focusing more on parajumbles because it's not just your English skill here that works, it's also about eliminating what doesn't go in. Okay, so that is how you should work to optimize your time. In Dawn, innovation is emerging as one of the important headers in the discussions on how to bring about greater and more consistent economic and social development. Okay. Now I am introducing something in Dawn. Dawn happens to be a place. This is seen in the gradual but. Okay. Now the first thing I do is B cannot be a starting sentence because this is seen. What is this? The pronoun this does not signify anything within the sentence. So it signifies, it denotes something that happens before that, which means B cannot be my starting sentence, correct? Then look at C, this steady growth. To facilitate this steady growth, here again there is a pronoun, okay, that is not defined earlier. So C again cannot be my starting sentence. Then I have lastly here, meaning D again cannot be my starting sentence. So I go with A, B, C, D. I am not even looking into what happens in these sentences. This is how I save time. I go ahead with A. Move on. Got it? So you understand, right? Some questions you can, finish within like seconds. You save this time to make use of it later on. Okay? Look at this. Corleone is a rich source of metals that are important for the clean energy industry. And then it lists a few, metals, but it faced a very, serious exhaustion of its rich mineral deposits. B cannot start my sentence, so I eliminate E. That cannot be my answer. Why? Because you don't generally start a sentence with but. Atlantis is a fictional place under the sea that forms the premise for Captain Nemo's stories. Now, A and B, they haven't talked about Captain Nemo's stories. This is an odd one out. Okay. So, anything that has C, I eliminate. D is eliminated because it's CADB. ADBC again is eliminated. I am left with B and C. Okay. Now look at this. The nodules that lie 4 km below the sea might be the solution. When you talk about the nodules, it's typically not going to be your starting sentence. Correct? It sounds very direct, and you don't know where exactly this is happening. Okay. And all that, the small nation, blah blah blah. Look, I'm not even reading the sentence fully. Now I have Corleone here, that is defining the place and starting off. It is an introductory sentence. I go ahead with C. I don't look at E, B, D, A being a possible contender. Okay, because E cannot start a sentence. That much is evident. And then he says these potent nodules, pronoun that is undefined. Okay, so I go ahead with C as the answer, A, B, D, E. Got it? Here again, I've saved a lot of time. Correct? Now look at this. Nigeria is a land of great diversity. This is a very good introductory sentence. Okay, because it introduces Nigeria. Then, he threatens his children. This cannot be your starting sentence because it has he, a pronoun, and that is undefined. So, I eliminate option E that has BEAD. Then, look at this. Hibiscus was the story of an opulent family dominated by a fanatically religious man, Eugene. Okay. Now, in all probability, Eugene is the man who is seen as the pronoun he. Okay. So, I would like to think C and then B is the order. Eugene's father never converted. This cannot be a starting sentence because you need to introduce Eugene first, then bring in Eugene's father. Okay. So, typically the order is going to be C and then B and then D. Okay. Then look at this, we can conclude that the book blah blah blah. E is a very good conclusion statement which I can see from here. Okay. So, I just look for C, D, B and that's there. I go ahead with this. Now, look at this. A is the contrast indicator. There is no mention of Nigeria elsewhere. Okay. So, C, D, B, E is your answer. Now, you get the idea, right? When I do my parajumble questions, I don't really look at every single part of every single sentence there is. Eliminate what cannot be your answer option, you will arrive at the answer option. Now, look at this. So, we have a phrase replacement question here. Okay. Nearly all of the students succeeded with the process, while student applying for an exclusion erred in his submission, the principal says. Okay. Now, remember, erred is wrong. The right word that means, you know, what you mean to say is erred. Okay. To make an error. So, I eliminate any option that has erred. This is wrong. Okay. So, my answer is somewhere here A, C or D, or of course, I mean it cannot be E because it has errored here. Okay. Then that was applying its submission, their submission. Okay. Now, look at this. Look at this, students applying for exclusion in their submission. Students is a plural noun, so the correct pronoun has to be their. Okay. So, this makes sense. It has erred in its right form, students and then their. Makes sense? Now, look at this, erred in their submission. Here, singular subject, plural pronoun. So, C is the correct answer. Now, look at this. The officials said on Tuesday that it did not grant a single exclusion request that draws an objection. Okay. Now, officials, plural. So, I eliminate any option that has it. So, A and E are out right away. Now, look at this, saying not a single exclusion request be granted. That drew. There is a huge tense error here. Be granted present, drew past, saying present continuous. So, there is a huge confusion with tense here. So, that is not your answer. Now, look at this. The officials said that they have not granted, they for officials, perfect, have not granted a single exclusion request that drew an objection, perfect. Now, that they have not granted, that drawed upon, okay. The past tense for draw is drew and not drawed. Okay. Typically people get confused between drawn and drew. Okay. So C is your answer option. Now look at this. They have granted 20 aluminum exclusions over an objection because the company objecting has not actually cited the product on question. Cited if it is has not. Okay. Now objecting has to come here before the company. Okay. So I eliminate D because it cannot be for the company objecting, it's objecting company. E again is eliminated for the same reason. I am left with A, B and C. Okay. Because the objecting company did not actually cite. Okay. Now is it SITE or CITE? It is CITE, meaning quote. Quoting this as a problem. Okay. Now this SITE is place. This is the site for the proposed construction. Okay. So I eliminate this as well. A cannot be my answer. Between B and C, what do I choose? Since the objecting company did not cite the product actually to be questioned, in question and to be questioned. Now when you are, product to be questioned, I am questioning the product, which makes no sense. I can question a person, but when you think about product in question, it means this is the product that we are talking about. The contextual meaning is that. So B is your answer. So you get the idea that it is easier again with these sentence correction or your phrase replacement questions. It is always easier to do your elimination. Okay, arrive at the answer that way. Okay. Wilbur Ross, the author, has defeated the critics and told them that the creator's ability to provide quality had to be taken on account. Now, number one, taken into account, that is the correct phrase to be used. The English language is very, very, very rigid when it comes to its idioms and phrases. Okay. Now, this is a phrase that means something. You forgot to take into account the money that you would be receiving as rent on your inherited house. Okay. So factor, take into account meaning factor. You forgot to factor this. You have to take it into account. It is always take into account, not take to account, take in account. No. Okay. So I eliminate no improvement, of course, first and foremost. Taken into account makes sense. Taken for account makes no sense. So C is eliminated, and then taken into account, yes, makes sense. B also has this. Okay. So I've eliminated C and E for sure. Now look at this. The creator's ability to provide quality has to be taken into account because ability is singular. Correct? So look at this. Creator's ability should be taken into account, quite possible. Then has defended, said the maker's ability. Now there is a difference here. We are talking about an author. An author is a creator, not a maker. Okay. But when you manufacture something, then you become a maker. Okay. So let's say I make clothes for a living, or I make I don't know, pens for a living. Okay, then I'm a maker. But when I'm an author, I'm a creator. So I eliminate B. Okay. Now D again is eliminated for the same reason. It has maker. I'm left with A and C. Look at this. Wilbur Ross, the author, has defeated the critics. Now, defeated and defended. What do you think is the, look at this. B has defended, A has defeated. Now I defend someone's right to enter a certain place. Okay, defeat a process versus defend the critics. B is what you intend saying. Wilbur Ross, the author, defends the critic who says the ability to provide quality should be taken into account. Okay, so here we just let go of the maker versus creator debate, because defeated is so wrong here, so it has to be defended indeed. B is the answer. Look at this. Not willing to take the fair play route, he tried to dash her. So this is a negative word that I am looking for, because there is no fair play involved. Okay, what I do first is I eliminate the positive words. Relent, reiterate. Reiterate is very neutral, meaning I keep telling you, please read books, please start reading, correct? I reiterate what I say. Okay, so reiterate is not negative, it's neutral. I eliminate this. Okay, so look at defame. This is a very negative word here, and it makes sense. Not willing to take the fair play route, he tried to defame her, meaning he tried to say things that were just dishonorable about her, and tried to defame her, much to his chagrin. This is quite much to his chagrin, much to his disappointment. Her reputation was unmarred and she won the election. Okay, so remember that this is a contrast indicator thing. Okay, much to his chagrin, her reputation was unmarred, she won the election, and this wasn't the desired result for him, because he was trying to defame her. Okay, just a sec. So we have reached the end of today's discussion class. Okay, and this is the end of discussion of mock test 3. Just let me know if you have any specific doubts to be cleared. I hope you've done well with the questions. Okay, also take up mock test 4 and let us know how that goes. Okay, so that's it for now. Good luck with your mock test 4 and 5, and of course the mains exams that you would be doing later on. See you then in the next discussion class. Bye. Thank you.